Oh, sorry. I've been hanging out too much with Canadians lately.
That'll get you. Canadians are Europeans. Europeans will get you too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's another topic entirely. But the European work ethic is embarrassing.
I don't know what to call this. Call it like we'll call it a short. This is a Illogically Ignorant podcast number 7. We'll call it, is it 7? I don't know. What is it?
I have no idea, man.
You don't pay attention? You don't keep up with us?
I should. I thought this was number 3.
Welcome to Illogically Ignorant, podcast number 7, I believe. Today, both of my roommates, as they call themselves co-hosts, but my roommates, the freeloaders, both left today to do God knows what. Today, we have a treat for you. We have a special guest, Jacob. You want to do a little self-introduction? Tell the audience a little about yourself?
Sure, I'll give my elevator pitch. My name is Jacob. I'm a good boy. Normally, I enjoy working out and running, even though it may not seem that way. These days, what I'm up to, failing class, not on purpose, and watching a lot of anime, even though it's probably doing terrible things to my psyche and how I feel about women, 3D women, that is.
Oh, yeah. I'm long past that point.
Seriously?
Yeah. Long past 3D women. Yeah, all 2D now for me.
Thank God.
What's been your big anime recently? Big show?
I've been rewatching Hunter x Hunter because I don't want to torrent the last couple arcs, but it's getting to be that point because I keep having to stop after the Greed Island arc because Netflix and Hulu don't have it.
You didn't have Crunchyroll?
I don't know how Crunchyroll works.
Really?
Yeah.
It's simpler to me than like Hulu, for example. Wait, do you have like a full Hulu?
No. I have it paid for, but I don't pay for like ad free.
Oh, see, that's why I watch like Bob's Burgers on Hulu,
yeah.
Right? But like that's about it because it's just like the ads are so excessive. Like the ads are like a minute 30, and there's like 4 of them. So in an episode of something, you're watching like a fourth ads. Like half the time it's just ads. So it's like it's kind of excessive. It's weird that like I think movies don't have ads. That's interesting.
No, they don't.
Movies don't, which is weird. Like movies, I'd be fine with like if you threw in like 3 or 4 ads. But like shows, it's just annoying how like every 5 minutes.
For like a 20-minute show, especially for like an anime, which is like it's hard to keep with it while you're watching it. If it just keeps every 3 minutes, you get distracted by a constipation ad, which is the most recent ad that I keep getting exposed to. I don't know if that's targeted advertising or not.
Have you been having issues recently? Some incontinence, maybe?
It's not necessarily incontinence, but it definitely is the opposite of constipation.
Oh, the opposite. Oh, okay.
I don't know how freely I can speak on the matter. It gets pretty graphic, but
well, let's keep that for off the podcast. You can fill me in maybe some. If you have any, media you've taken, we can examine that. See if you're having any issues we can fix.
We can do some science experiments, see which fixes me the fastest.
Yeah, great.
Human experimentation is not the worst thing in the world, I don't think.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about human experimentation? We'll go. This isn't a planned topic. Well, this is going to be very free flowing today. How do you feel about human experimentation? And actually, let's start simple. How do you feel about like animal experimentation for like no qualms?
I don't really care.
See, like I'm not against like what about like dogs and cats? Do you think?
Once you bring in like an animal that's like a pet, like that might be rough. But that's just me. I think I'm too soft when it comes to dogs and cats.
Because you have a dog.
I
do.
Do.
Right.
And I immediately empathize, and I'm like, can you imagine some freak shoving a needle in my sweet angel? No, I don't want to think about that.
I think dogs and cats are where like it's kind of hard. Like that's the line, because I'm fine with like mice and it was like sheep or whatever. Right? Those are the big ones. and like monkeys too,
Yeah.
because it's like in the end, it's like, yeah, I'd rather like one of those animals.
Better him than me.
Yeah, better than me. It's him or us. But yeah, as soon as it gets to like dogs and cats, it's kind of a tough scenario just because you have one. You imagine your dog in that scenario. One thing I don't get is makeup. People complain about makeup like being tested on dog. I don't really understand that. First off, like, what are you testing? Like, I don't know. Are you like drawing them up, seeing if they look good, or if it's just like allergic? I don't know. Makeup's kind of a weird thing. I don't get why everyone throws such a big fit about it. I might not be just educated enough to know about it, but
I'm definitely not. But when I see like the PETA ads about that, I imagine they're like throwing lipstick on a cat. Like, I'm impressed you're even able to like hold it down.
I mean, like, I just don't think, like, whenever they complain about that, I just don't see like the issue with it. It's like, I mean, maybe if they're like putting lipstick and like kissing them, like, just to like see like what that's like, maybe that might be like problematic. But I think like besides that, I don't really see like too big of an issue with it. What about like human? Like, if clinical trials, how you feel about just like tossing humans in?
See, I always think about it from like a Plague Inc. perspective, and it depends on the veracity of whatever you're testing. And for humans, I immediately think of like for clinical trials, like the effectiveness of a drug or a vaccine. It might just be because COVID's got me thinking that way, but I don't know. I think depending on how serious the situation is, I imagine like the FDA suddenly approving human experimentation is like, to me, I go back to my 12-year-old Plague Inc. days, and I'm like, I'm winning. If it means the FDA has immediately approved human experimentation, that's why I know it's time to start freaking out if you're a human. But if you're a virus, we're doing a good job.
Oh, you're doing well, yeah.
Chill.
My issue with experimentation actually is the flip side. I don't think there's enough of it.
Really?
Like in my eyes, so like experiments, they have like a placebo and then like a treatment group, right? The placebo group, here's my issue, right? If I had like an actual disease, something that was being treated by a drug, and then you told me after the experiment, you're like, actually, we didn't even give you the medicine, it works, but your disease is much more severe now since we didn't give you the medicine, I'd be pissed. Or like I would be angry if it turns out that the drug works and I spent like half a year not getting the treatment and it got worse.
And that's like I think the placebo itself is a pretty messed up concept. Specifically for that reason, I was taking I think it was Psych 101 freshman year, and they were talking about that. And somebody in my class asked the professor, he's like, why if you think the drug is going to work, if you have the some level of proof to back it up, how do you tell the volunteer participants who didn't get the drug, like, hey, this was all in your head, man, you're not actually better?
Yeah, like, I think if for like supplements or something that like makes you like you're like healthy and it might make you better, I'd be like, okay, well, like, I'd rather have had it, but like whatever. But especially like cancer, right? Like oncology stuff. Like, if you have cancer and then it turns out this treatment works and you haven't been getting it and now it's worse, like, that would just make me like, I feel terrible. Like, I'd be angry. I'd be legitimately angry, like signing up for something like that. Like, that's kind of my issue with it. It's like, I don't know. I guess it'd be one thing if it's more like an observation thing, where you have like two groups and like you kind of observe this one and the other one that's like part of your study, you give them all the treatment. That'd be one thing, I feel like, but like, I just have an issue with like people signed up to get the treatment and you just don't give it to them. That seems kind of shady to me, in my eyes.
I mean, like, it's one thing, especially if the treatment works, but can you imagine if the treatment didn't work or made the symptoms worse? And they're like, duh, hey, you're welcome, we didn't give you the treatment.
See, like, with the treatment being worse, I'm not like because the chances of that, I feel like, are kind of low because they tested it on animals beforehand, they kind of vetted it. I'd be kind of angry, but like at the same time, you sign up because it's experimental. It's like might not work out, but like you might need it for your like disease. I feel like given the choice between the two, I'd rather be in a group that like got a treatment and also I kind of have now bad side effects, rather than be in the group that like thought I was getting treated and it turns out nope, you still have your disease is actually worse now. It's
You're still an idiot, and you still are not better.
Yeah, like how much would be if you like if your entire friend group, right? Like let's say like you and 5 other dudes, and like you find out that like you and another friend just never got the treatment, and like all of a sudden it's unfixable now. Like you guys are past the point. You guys are past the point of no return, and your other friends are just happy and just chilling. I don't know. I'd feel left out. I just feel betrayed. And it's not a good feeling. I don't think.
Betrayed by the trial.
Yeah, it's hurt by the system. You know.
We live in a society.
We do live in a society that doesn't give me enough medicine.
Exactly. We should have free healthcare.
Oh, we tell them no politics, and right into the big one.
Oh, sorry. I've been hanging out too much with Canadians lately.
That'll get you. Canadians are Europeans. Europeans will get you too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's another topic entirely. But the European work ethic is embarrassing.
That's such an issue. Like people always tout it as like some godsend. You know, people are like, oh yeah, like people from Spain, they're like they only work like 3 hours a day, and then they get like 60 days of paid leave. Like, I'm like, that's not a good thing.
No!
I'm like, why do you think it's kind of a mess in a lot of European? Like, yeah, like America has its issues, but it's like we chug along. You know, we are an efficient system.
We're hustlers.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, like you could go on the other end, like Japan, where it's like they just like work all day and like they burn themselves, right? Like that's bad. But it's like, I feel like America's in a good place. Like,
yeah.
Once you start giving like half the year as paid leave, and then like people just like nap in the offices, I'm like, I don't. Maybe it's because I don't think it's like I think sometimes they show like, oh, paid leave is good, it like increases productivity, right? But like there's no way that much you can't give that much to humans. I don't think I'd like it either. Like I think eventually, like at first I'd be like, oh, that's great, I get paid leave, but like eventually I'd be like, oh, I'm really bored. You know, it's like COVID. You know, like eventually you sit around and you're like, I kind of want to do something, even if I hate it.
Yeah.
Like, you know that study, speaking of your Psych 101 experience, you know that study where it's like, they had people sit in a room and not doing anything, and then they gave them a button that shocked them, and then like people would just keep pressing the button because it was something to do at least. Like, I feel like that's what it is, you know, like we want just some stimulus.
I'd rather actively hurt myself than be bored.
Yeah, like honestly, I remember back when I was a kid. Do you remember those like prank gum like sticks?
Yeah.
Where like you pull the gum and it shocks you or whatever, right? Sometimes I'd be bored at night. Like this is kind of weird. I don't know if anyone actually knows this. Sometimes I'd be bored at night and I'd have one of those prank things and I'd just be like under my pillow. I'd just be pulling it and just like shocking myself. I don't know. Like I just think we crave that stimulus.
I was a lot like you, except instead of doing a prank shock, I would take copious amounts of opioids.
Oh.
Because I was bored.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can tell. It shows.
It worked. I feel all the time really good, and I think it's because I fried so many brain synapses. Unfortunately, it's also a big part of the reason why I can't do basic math anymore. So, you know, there's a plus side, and there's upside and a downside to most decisions. And I think pranking yourself, zapping yourself is a more productive.
That's about the middle. That's about the middle of the spectrum, right there.
You and me, we're the same.
Yeah. Speaking of changing, you know, failing math, all of that issues, we can go into a little question I prepared. You know, something that's interesting for you, since we went to high schools that were pretty similar, but also kind of different, I'd say. Jacob over here and I
hated my high school.
Everyone hated your high school. Jacob and I here went to high schools that were about 15 minutes away from each other. Kind of not really rivals. Just like everyone hated his school. They were good at everything. They were the biggest school. You guys are the biggest school in Indiana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's for a bullshit reason. Like the reason why we have so many students is because they predicted that our housing market would cap at a certain point. And Fisher or wherever said that they would. Is there any way to bleep that out?
Nah, that's cool. We'll leave it. No one knows what that means.
Okay. Anyway,
you just doxed me. You just doxed me on live TV. Right
on
here.
Live TV. My bad. But yeah, the other high school, it was predicted that their housing market wouldn't get capped, and so. That's literally the only reason why my high school was so huge, and our housing market has continued to grow, and they're still not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty big gene pool to pull from.
That's true. I feel like the average is probably still around the same. You know, like I bet the average kid is probably still around the same from the schools. You guys just have a lot of the top, just because, you know, percentage wise, you're more likely to get some of it, you know. But yeah, that was me to my question. What's like the biggest change you think in yourself, or like that, or just your life, your quality of life since like high school for you?
Oh my god. I used to be, for lack of a better word, a big nerd in high school. I was on the principal's honor roll. I had a weighted GPA of like 4.3.
Me and you were the same then. We were tied. I had the exact same.
Seriously?
Yeah, exact same. 4.3. Yeah, weighted.
God damn, what happened, man?
Me and you have fallen from grace, huh?
It's a classic Icarus story. Flew too close to the sun. I don't know. From between my senior year of high school and my current year of college, I've fallen off, and a lot of that had to do with I had an interest. I had a thing for this girl who ruined my life and made me a loser. But I don't know. Between high school and now, I think I've figured out a little bit better how the world works, at least my corner of the world. And I realized that a lot of these classes I'm taking don't mean anything, and it's a waste of time. And on top of that, with Zoom learning, it just feels like the motivation to excel, or even hit the mark, or even fall just below the mark, has been so low.
I mean, that's kind of an oxymoron, right? Zoom learning, like the kind of contradictory. I feel like I don't know if anyone that's like really gotten better. I don't know of anyone that's like learned better through Zoom. I don't think it's possible. I honestly don't think it's possible to like learn better through Zoom than in person.
They've learned how to cheat on tests better.
Yeah.
And that's...
I mean, the nice thing is I feel like professors have realized that's what's happening, so they just said open book. You know, but here's the thing. Next semester, like my final semester, when I go back, I'm not going to know how to take a test without notes. I'm not going to know how to take a test without like previous problems and stuff to look at. Like, I think I've been running into issues where like I kind of get close on time for tests now, which I never did because I'm spending time looking at the material because I don't remember any of it. Exactly. I never learned any of it.
I have like really bad, I wouldn't even call it ADHD because that's like a buzzword. I think I just have low attention span, and coupled with like numbered dyslexia, I just can't do certain problems quickly anymore, and like it gives me such a like a sense of panic while I'm taking a test that like I feel like that's part of the reason why I'm so sick all the time, is because I'm stressed out about tests. But a big part of it is like panicking during tests that I'm running out of time. I start to forget everything that I studied, and then I just defer back to my notes. So I'm really like wasting time trying to think of what the answer is on my own, and then just ultimately looking it up and just using all of my notes and wasting all the time that I would have otherwise had to do the problem. And I feel like an idiot at the end of the day.
I definitely feel that the not being able to solve stuff as fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember back in the day, like you could give me some complex multiplication, like just like basic arithmetic. You know, you could give me something like that, and I'd have it immediately. Like my mental ability was just so fast. I was just clicking all the time. Now it's like, I think the other day Luke asked me, he was like, hey, like, because since we're cutting, right, we're figuring out like calories and stuff. He was like, hey David, what's like 56 times 8? And in my head I was like, oh yeah, this is easy, right? And it took me like a solid 20 seconds. Like it was so slow. Like back in the day it would have been maybe 4 or 5 seconds, right? It took me so much longer. I don't know if it's like I'm out of practice or I just honestly am stupider just because like I've been not using it for so long. But like that's the worst thing, I feel like when you were smart in high school and it just feels like you've fallen so far, you know, like part of it's a work ethic thing, like we talked about on our last podcast. We were talking about like work ethic, right? And it was like that's kind of fallen off for me, but it's just I don't know, man. College just feels like a different beast.
It really
business
is.
Especially being a business major, especially I feel like we're just not learning anything, honestly.
Business is such a waste of time, man. I'm fully accept. I used to be in super deep denial about it, like freshman year, because I think I was still riding that gravy train of like, oh, you're a special kid. Look at you. You got into the Kelly school. It's very hard. Business is hard. And like the more I think about it and the more classes I take, the more I realize people don't need business people. Like they don't. There's no. It feels terrible to me because I always pictured myself in a career where I would be productive in the sense that I was generating something. Like even if you're a like computer engineer or programmer or something like that, if you're involved in that kind of thing, at the end of the day, you create something. Business people don't do that.
They're not doing anything for humanity.
No.
I saw this part. So I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen. It's a recent seasonal anime, and there's this one like salaryman, and he's talking to this baker or whatever, and he basically says something like, it's weird because like even though as a baker your life is part of like the human cycle, eating or like getting sick or like traveling or like part of the human cycle, they make so much less than like a banker who isn't doing anything. Like you're not part of the human cycle. You're just making like it's all made up. Business, it's all made up, right? Like the stock market, like all that, like it's all just made up stuff. And like I think for guys like us that it hit us, or like because like there's just 50% like with the people that are like super passionate about it, like, oh, this is great, like make money or whatever, and then like we're part of the group that's like we're like based, like we're
based in red pill.
like we've kind of realized like it's all made up. You're not doing anything. Like as a doctor, people get sick, you're helping them. As a cook, people want to eat, you're making food. What are you doing as like a banker? People want more money, so you just make up numbers to give them more money, and it's kind of just. I think that's part of what's been part of my like lack of motivation. It's just seeing how like everything I've been learning per se, has been for naught. None of it is gonna. Maybe it'll help me in my job or whatever, but it's like my job isn't gonna do anything for society. It's not. That's the tough part. It's so hard because especially when you enter in a certain school, at our college, like once you enter into Kelly, it's like you're kind of locked in a way, right? And it's like I remember before in high school, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I choose business. I chose business over engineering, even though like I got into engineering, everything. I chose business over engineering because I was like, oh, like like upward mobility, growth. I won't be capped. And then I realized I'm not doing anything though. Like I could be able to move up in a position, but it's like I'm still not doing anything. Like
it's like it's upward momentum, but a lateral move. Like there's nothing happening either way.
Yeah, like nothing. You like no matter how much you move up, like as a finance person, you're not doing anything for anyone. Like if an apocalypse something happens, like you're not someone people are keeping around.
Exactly. That's legitimately how I think about the usefulness of like a task or a job or a career is like in an apocalypse situation, what is the use of a personal financial planner or like an investment manager, sales and trading like stockbroker? Nothing. Or an advertising person?
Yeah.
Nothing. And I guess that's not that's not like a good way of thinking about it because like there are some professions that I feel like are necessary even though they're not very productive. Like accounting is one field that I think is in a way productive because it deals in very real terms in like the valuation of a business. But
I mean you could just use Excel for that.
Exactly.
Like the things that like humans actually need. We've created things that do it for us. Like accounting is one of the real things, like actually dealing with actual money. Well, we can talk about how real money actually is, but like we're dealing with actual money and everything. But that can just be done by Excel, or like you can just plug it into a you can automate it completely. Just unions and stuff kind of stop that.
Yeah.
But like everything else, like you were saying, like finances, no one cares. Like have you seen Dr. Stone?
I have not.
So that's basically we're talking about anime a lot this podcast, but basically it's the concept is suddenly all the human population has turned to stone, like thousands of years pass by, and this one guy Senku, he's like super good at chemistry, he's like a scientist, and he unfreezes, and it's basically his quest to like bring back humanity. Like it's really cool because they actually go through real chemistry, like actual compounds and stuff to like show you how they make penicillin, they make cars. So I like because you're keeping people like that around because they have real skills. They have something that can actually do something for society. Like you said, computer people. Yeah, once you get back to that, those people are actually adding something. Doctors, of course, engineers, yeah, architects, even. I'd argue even like artists and musicians. I'd argue that's way more essential than like finance because like humans always need entertainment.
Yeah, and like as even if it's not a necessity, like having culture is like something that humans just need, and after a certain point of evolution, like humans are required to like you can't like just survive without living, and in an apocalypse situation, you kind of would need that. Otherwise, it's just sort of like, man, what do we do? What do we do? It's kind of like now, actually.
Yeah, like in an apocalypse, if you were like, hey, like you can choose like 3 people, or whatever. You give me like, and then you give me a whole list of people. You're like engineer. I'd probably choose like a doctor first, and then I choose like probably an engineer, someone to figure stuff out. And then like if there were no other like just hard skills like that, I would choose a singer over an investment banker any day of the week.
It's like, yeah, but I can tell you how to balance the weights in your portfolio so that you make a quality value add over the course of your life to retirement.
It's just...
You mean you can move around theoretical money in a theoretical chart in a theoretical exchange market? Wow, that doesn't exist anymore. That's not real.
I think that like part of my like whole like... Not like I'm not like a nihilist or anything, you know. I'm not like everything's useless, but like part of like my like kind of what's it called, like dissatisfaction, or I can't think of the term, but like with life is that I realize like, wow, like I think the stat is something like most, I think like 99% of the top 1% of income manage other people's money. Yep. Like that's ridiculous, right? Like the fact that like the people that like are living the best lives are just moving stuff around for their friends, right? Basically, like it's
like a middleman, essentially.
Yeah, and it's like they're not doing anything, and like they're the ones who are like, you know, just cheating the taxes and everything. So it's actual people like doctors and lawyers who are getting screwed, and it's just like I think it's weird because going into business school was what made me realize how much like I hated it, how much I hate like the whole business world, you know.
And that's something that's painful to me also, because in order to be one of these people who has such a like an upward trajectory path that like could very easily lead to one of these upper like top 1% people, like you don't have to be smart to get there. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of it comes down to like, it sucks, but a lot of it comes down to where you started from and like what you can do with like the right people. Like to an extent, a lot of shit in business comes down to being a popularity contest. Like the difference between you getting a promotion and moving up or not has to do with how well you can kiss your boss's ass. And that's just like how professionalism works. In all these other fields that are significant and are generative, productive, like doctor, engineer, etc., there's so much training and like personal growth that you have to like embark on before you can become that ultimate thing of like, for the example of a doctor, you have to go through so much school, so much training. You have to do your residency at a hospital. You have to pick a specialty. You have to like do all of these different things in order to become a whatever surgeon. And at the end of the day, you're kind of capped at that. You can become the best whatever surgeon in the region, but like your most generative job caps you off at a certain point. You're making a lot of money, but like compared to what you could be making doing literally nothing for other people, like taking in numbers that interns give you to move around weights in Beyonce's portfolio, like that's, you have limitless amount of both like capital gain and also like recognition for doing literally nothing. Yeah. And that's so painful to me, and like I hate myself that I'm in that field right now, and I'm trying to not be like that. But a big part of why I'm there is just to make enough money right now that I can go and pursue other things further down the line. I don't want to stay in finance forever because I feel like that's also like a rabbit hole. The longer you stay in, the more the money gets to you.
I mean, that's part of like just like the human condition, right? It's just realizing like how like futile like a lot of that is, like, because yeah, like you're saying, like people who actually create stuff, they're not the ones that are known, or yeah, obviously like the best, you know, sometimes I get recognized, but it's always like rubbed me the wrong way whenever I'm in like a business class or something, right? And they mention like these people's names, like these investment bankers or these like economists, I guess is different. But like investment
they kind of did discover stuff.
Yeah, like about human behavior. But like investment bankers or people like that, they'll mention their names. I'm like, who cares? Like, you know, like it's
like everybody in the class knows who it is.
Yeah.
It's a household name. That guy has done nothing for us as a society. He's done something for somebody important. And that's how the fucking Warren Buffett. Why do I know who he is?
Yeah, like people know, everyone knows who Warren Buffett is, but like no, like I guarantee 99% of people couldn't name who like created penicillin, you know, or something like that. Like the people, I honestly I used to be able to. I don't remember any of this stuff. But like, I bet like most people don't even know who like Oppenheimer or like they probably don't know like they maybe they know Einstein, right? But they don't know what he did. Like realistically, it's like
he's a smart guy.
Yeah, like they just know like, oh, he's a scientist. But like you ask people about Warren Buffett, they're like, oh yeah, he did like real estate, he did like all this, like he's all these companies. I'm like
made shmoney moves.
It's like everything's just like playing. The thing that sucks, like the human condition thing, is that you realize, like you were saying, you're just doing this to like make enough money to do something you actually like. That's kind of what sucks, because I want to do law, right? So like I want to be a lawyer, but I have to do this first to like.
In the meantime.
Yeah, like in the meantime, and it sucks because you realize like, oh wow, it's useless, but that's how the world works. So you just got to deal with it. Which I think our approach isn't a bad thing. I don't think our approach is something that like. You can't criticize someone for that. Like, you're just playing the game. You have to play the game to survive. And I think it's fine for us to like play the game like that, but it just sucks that like that's the way that it's set up. You know,
like the alternative is if like that's something I hear about a lot of times with some of the YouTubers I watch, who I won't name because they're not very PC. But a lot of the people who are like creative types who want to pursue their goal of whatever, like even if it's something as basic as like being a gaming YouTube channel where you just play Dota 2 all day in your gamer house. Like if that's your dream, that's something that you're passionate about. Obviously the economy can't support that because I guarantee you there's like 30 million kids out there in the US who also want to do that, who suck and have no like talent. And you probably fit somewhere in the middle of that normal curve. But like the fact that you can't pursue something like if you're really into like graphic design.
Oh, graphic design is my passion?
Yeah.
Is graphic design your passion?
It is. No, it's not. I know my way around MS Paint. I know how
Have you seen that picture?
Yeah.
You know, okay, just making sure you know.
There's a bunch of variations.
There's so many.
It's just like a blank sky with like a still have the border on like background bordered
like a frog or something. Yeah.
Like, graphic design is my passion. But like graphic design comes to mind specifically because I knew a girl at one of the jobs I used to work. She was really cute, that's why I was talking to her, but I found out later from her that she had a passion for graphic design and she was like going to school for it. And I was like, how are you gonna get a job doing graphic design? I hated myself like for thinking that way right off the bat, because I know there are design jobs for graphic design people. But like I know also that there's so many people that want to do graphic design because it's like a fun thing for them and it's better than sitting at an Excel spreadsheet and punching in stock information all day. But like I know that there's so many people who want to do that it's gonna be like really hard for her to get like that first job or even to like do freelance work for an ad agency or something like that. So I asked her, I was like, why didn't you why didn't you first decide to like pick something more realistic and then have the graphic design thing as like a double major or something like that? It's just like, because I don't want to do anything else with my life. And that really stuck with me, because it sucks that people can't do something that they're both good at and want to do with their life without first playing this game of like, okay, I have to get a real job first before I can go into training to become the thing I want to be. Or if you can't afford that, what are your options? Like, you have to go to school for something that will make you money. Otherwise, you don't go to school. You join a trade. You do something like that.
You join the military.
Join the military and get bombed for no reason, for oil. You don't win.
Yeah.
And that sucks, because that's part of what I was talking about earlier with, like, it depends on where you start off with in terms of your upward trajectory. If you're a trust fund baby and your parents don't mind throwing money at your education, you can just keep going to school over and over again, take on stupid, like, intermediate jobs, and do whatever you want with your life. But if you don't have that kind of money, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You have to do something right now, and it's guaranteed not going to be something that you want to do, but you just have to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like you were saying though, like the graphic design thing. Right? For example, I wanted to do chemistry. Like, I wanted to do chemistry. I wanted to just be like a chemist, like researcher, right? But my dad, who was a chemist for I think like 12 years, he told me, he's like, don't do chemistry. You can't get a job. I was like, and I was thinking, I did chemistry. I took a chemistry class every single year of high school because I loved it. Right? Like, I loved the field. I loved the science behind it. I loved learning about it. And then like my dad's like, yeah, can't get a job. And like the thing that sucks is like, I didn't even like question. Obviously I thought about like, oh, maybe we'll just do it, but only for a second. You know, like at the end of the day, I was just like, yeah, you're right. Like, I need a job. Like I need a job. That's the thing. And it sucks that you just can't. You just got to play the game. And I don't know. It's crazy how much like demand there is for business. You know, you'd think that there'd be more demand for I don't. Okay, I won't use computer stuff because there is a big demand for that. But I don't know, like engineers or like doctors or stuff, right? There is a demand, but it feels like business. Like, if you just want to get a job, just immediately, you just do business. And it sucks how like that's like the first thing that like people look at, right? Like no one looks at like, oh, like we got to hire more chemists, we got to hire more like engineers, like build better products, you know. No, they just go, oh, we just need to sell it. We just need to invest our money. We just need to put our money here and grow it.
We need to edit our debt ratio so that we can value our company more. Like,
yeah.
Ultimately, that's the shit that sucks. And I was raised in a way. My parents are very based in red pilled like that. They were like, Jacob, you're not going to be this or this or this. Here are a selection of fields you can go into. And like, I was surprised that they were cool with me picking a business major, because they, like, at the time, I remember I was a junior and I did DECA, and I was like, wow, this is so free. How are there not more business people? Like, you can make money doing this. Like, this is so easy. Mm. And I told my parents, I was like, I think I want to be a business major. And they're like, no, you don't.
Should have listened.
I know. Right? And they're like, you should look into the medical field. You can be legit. My parents, it sounds bad. My parents are pretty...
A doctor or a lawyer?
Pretty Asian like that. It's like doctor, lawyer, all of these different things you can be. You cannot be a business person because there's nothing there. And then they came to like a Kelly thing where they were talking about, they had all the dudes up there who were like, I'm in investment banking. I'm doing this on Wall Street next summer. And they're like, how much did you say you make starting salary? It's like, $120,000 a year. Drops the mic. All the parents immediately freak the fuck out. Like, my son or daughter is going to, that's all we care about. And so like, immediately they're like, yes, you should go into finance. Don't do marketing. Marketing is a waste of time. Finance, that's the way to go, son. And I was like, if you say so, guys.
Finance is such, like, and I hate that, like, here's the thing too. I wish I'd listened to more of my parents because my parents were kind of the opposite. They wanted me to do something. They wanted me to make money and provide for myself. But at the same time, like, especially my dad has always told me, he's like, I just care if like you're happy, right? Which is always great. Like he just said like, I just want you to be happy, which is like a great thing. But like, I kind of wish I'd listened to that more, you know, like, because I think when I was in high school, I associated, happy means more money, you know, like high school, you're always like, I want more money, I'll be happier. No, I'm like. Maybe I wouldn't have made as much as like a chemist or something. I think I would have enjoyed it more. Or engineering. I probably would have
made more inherent sense to you. And like, to me, that's a big part of why I would enjoy a field is if I get it inherently, if I enjoy it because I understand it.
But since me and you both think that like business is just fake, right? Like you can not only is it like hard to like put yourself into it, like try to like dedicate yourself to it. It just doesn't make sense. Like someone tells me like finance numbers and stuff. They're like, oh, here's like a swap, you know, and like forwards or like by this and options. That's how you price it. I'm like, okay. First off, I don't care, right?
Why are you talking to me about that?
Yeah. First off, I don't care. Second off, like, I don't understand it because it's all so abstract. It's so arbitrary. Like when someone's like, oh, this molecule interacts with this one like this, and it creates this. I'm like, great. Now I know that.
It's like solid. All right. Yeah. Next concept.
But someone's like, yes, you put your money here, and maybe sometimes you make money, and sometimes you don't. And I'm like, great. That's useless. Because everything in business, it's all like, not only is it all like made up in my mind, it's all gambling. People are just like glorified gamblers being paid exorbitant amounts to gamble
with other people's money.
Yeah,
and like that concept to me is both like inherently like I wouldn't say inherently evil, but it's inherently immoral in my mind to be so willing to throw away everything on like a bet. Like, to me, gambling is on par with, like, being suicidal. Like, the only reason you would be a gambler is if you don't want to be alive. And in that same sense, I think that's why so many, like, finance guys are so mentally unstable and, like, they can't handle... You see those videos from, like, Wolf of Wall Street and stuff like that. Those guys are going insane because it's all just like high risk semi-reward gambling. And it's like with other people's money specifically is where I like draw the line. If you want to throw away your life savings on a poker game, cool, that's on you, man.
That's why I've never criticized people. Like I love Wall Street bets, right? I've lost more money than I've gained. Yeah, like for sure. I've lost thousands. But that's why I respect people like that because they're taking their own money, their own hard-earned money. They're just throwing it at bets, and they say they're bets. That's the thing. They admit they're bets. But then like people on Wall Street, they not only don't take their own money, they take other people's money and they go, oh, this is a informed investment, investment. Like instead of just saying
big opportunity,
and instead of just saying like, oh, I'm literally just throwing your money at a 50-50, right? Like. That's what it is. It's a 50-50, like most of the stuff.
And they're also, like, this is something I talk to my parents about, too, because, like, I have an interest in private wealth. I think that's the route for me just because I enjoy working with people. And the internship that I accepted is with a local branch of a firm that, like, is very well known for not being corrupt, so to speak, in the sense that like the head advisor there is well known in our region for being like good with your money. Like he listens to you, he takes into account what your like risk aversion is and like everything that you tell him, he takes it to heart. And something that my parents said is different about him than other advisors they've had is that they all these other guys will try to like convince you, like they're like, okay, I get your constraints, but like you might be making a huge return right now if you just let me take 10 grand more and drop it into this. I promise you that you will see returns. And every time they've been wrong, and every time my parents are like, you're fired. Like, we told you not to. Why did you do that? And like this one guy that I'm supposed to be working for supposedly is very good about like listening to his clients and being like very respectful. He will like, if he thinks that there's an opportunity, he'll like pitch it to you, he'll give you a call, and if you're not okay with it, he doesn't push it. And that's like something that I value a lot. Is like, it's like, to me it's the same as like having a pushy salesman at a store. Like the more some guy is up my ass trying to get me to buy something, the more I just want to leave and get out of there. But like, if you just throw it out there to me, and if I can trust you with my money, that you're not just trying to take me for a ride and get a commission out of me, like that is important to me. And it's important to me specifically to see examples of people like that in the industry and know that it's not all Wall Street boys who are all like borderline personality disorder, like
What's his name from American Psycho?
Patrick Bateman.
Bateman, yeah, Patrick Bateman, yeah. It's like that. It's like dude's just like they're just nuts because like everything they do is like focused on such like fake stuff. Like they're focused on the business cards, you know, like they're like,
oh man, eggshell with the embossed lettering. This is such a good card.
Yeah, like it's like they're so focused on stuff like that because they just don't have that like real basis to what they're doing. And like going back to what you're saying about like guys who, you know, aren't pushy, they aren't like just doing it for them and then pretending it's for you. I think like most people like that, it's kind of a little bit off topic, but like most people that so for example, most of my friends, like my good friends are all, if I ask them for advice or like if I'm giving advice, same thing. I'll give just a piece of advice. I'll be like, but you do you. You know, like you make the decision. It's all you. I don't know the entire scenario, but this is what I would do. That's how I think is the best way to give advice. And like, but like those kind of people, I feel like just don't excel in business. Like most of the guys that I know that are like that either hate business or they aren't in it. Like I think I've had a lot of experience with people that I talk to in Cali, and I'll kind of be like, maybe I'll just ask them about something, and they'll just like tell me like, oh, you like need to do this or they'll say something and like they'll kind of shame you for like not doing it. You know, like I've always respected people who give their opinion. Like, give me your honest opinion, but like
back off.
Yeah, but that's it. That's all. I want to know your opinion so I can make a decision. I don't need you to make a decision for me. And I think that people that really kind of just a pattern I've noticed is that people who obviously there are people that slip through the cracks, like good people like that slip through the cracks. But I feel like a lot of people I see who go into business, they're just so focused on like what they want to do. And they just have this like delusion that they're right and everything, and that's what it is. Like that's like those people who are just throwing money into stuff because they're like, oh, you can make a great return. It's just delusions.
Delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, like you believe that like everything you've learned is right, and you're always going to be right because you know all numbers. You know, I learned finance in like undergrad or whatever, and then I
timed the Tokyo Stock Exchange. I know how to time the markets.
Those people are just like getting lucky, and then one day they're gonna like drop it all, and then they're gonna realize, oh wow, like I don't know anything.
Oh my god, that reminds me. When I was doing my interview for a prestigious bank, I won't say what it was because I don't want this to get back to me. But I was doing an interview with a prestigious bank. And the guy I was interviewing with was exactly the guy that you're talking about. Where in the interview it was supposed to be like behavioral, and he was supposed to be asking me questions, but literally the guy would not shut the fuck up about himself. Like he would not stop talking about himself and how well he's done in the past. Like, oh, I used to work at Goldman for 2 years. I did everything right. And like when I asked him, I was like, oh, like why'd you move from Goldman and why are you where you're at now? He was like, well, we had a disagreement, me and my superior, and and what I gleaned from it was he like lost the load bad on like a really bad bet and lost one of their clients like a significant amount of money. And like he was so like, there were like a few clues that indicated to me that it was his mistake that led to him getting fired. But the way he said it was like he had a disagreement with his superior over whether or not this was a good idea, and he did it anyway. And like as a result, he was still successful, but he chose to leave and move on to bigger and better things because he's always right. And like that mentality freaked me out so bad. Like the guy looked like he was on crack the whole time. Like he got up and started pacing at one point, talking about like the Bolivian forex markets or something. I had no idea what he was talking about half the time.
The crazy thing is, it's like people like that. Like the crazy thing is, if you put someone like that in any other field, like it's nuts that they can still get a job. That guy like lost all their money, and like we're just assuming he lost some money, right? Like I'll just go off your assumption. But like even people who like lose a ton of money, they can still get a job at a different bank. They can still get a job
because it's expected.
Yeah, like no other field like expects that level of risk. Like obviously as a doctor, maybe you maybe you don't save someone, right? But like
your margin of error is that big where you can consistently screw up and continue to keep finding a job and not be thrown out for malpractice at some point.
Yeah, because like most of the time it's like they're barely winning on their bets. Right? It's like slightly above 50%. Slightly above 50% they're winning on their bets, and they think that they're winning. If you saved 52% of all your patients as a doctor, you know how long you'd be a doctor? You would be a banker in a year. You know, like you'd be going into banking instead. Because there's no other field where like that level of error is like accepted. Like not even accepted, expected. You know, like. It's expected.
You can't be higher than this. Like, it's either you are this level or you are worse.
And it's nuts that they say it to our faces, too, in our business school. They go, yeah, like, you will win some and you'll lose some, but you just got to win more than you lose. I'm like, that's so nuts that, like, you go into a field knowing that, like, a lot of what you do is going to, like, turn out badly because you're wrong. Like, I don't want to go into a field where I don't know, like, where I'm guessing. I'm literally making barely educated guesses on things.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's part of why I was contemplating switching back to accounting and just trying to, like, over the summer between whenever I graduate and whenever I take on a job, just trying to take on like 150 credits and just take the CPA exam and try to do, tax accounting or something. Tax accounting is a bad example. You shouldn't go into tax accounting. That sucks. But because at least in accounting, there's like certainties and there's assumptions that that are widely known. They have the gap principles. Like you have so much in place that constrains you. You know the rules and you know how to solve the problem every time. With finance, the more of these like investment classes I'm taking, the more I realize all of like the intermediate like calculations that you make between going from point A to point B on like valuing a company, for example, half of them are guessing. Like legitimately, my teacher will say, so for this is another kind of like tough thing to wrap your head around, but for this intermediate step, you're gonna have to like guess what the rate is gonna be for this calculation. I was like, excuse me, professor, can you explain what you mean by guess? He's like, well, you can take the average from the market for similar companies, or there's a couple ways you can calculate it, but it's not going to be dead on ever. Yeah. So it's easier to just compare it to a similar company.
And that's what every single like company does when they value companies. Like every single one. Like I was searching up like pro forma to see like pro formas, right? Like they're pulling up like balance sheets and income statements. They're like, yeah, this is what we think is going to happen, you know. But like it's the definition is
based on nothing.
The definition is a document that is provided as a courtesy or satisfies minimum requirements.
Minimum requirements.
It basically just means you can't make up numbers completely, but like you can kind of make some up and like pretend like they're close.
And just call it a projection, and then you won't get in trouble when you're way off.
And that's what the entire business world is built on. Like the entire thing is built on just making guesses.
And then like they say that the market adjusts to like account for like millions of different things at once. So like in a way, like most of the time what my teachers have been saying is just like, if you don't know what the answer is, just guess from the market, because the market is going to be way more qualified to answer that question than our stupid calculations that we're doing by hand and in Excel. Like, just use the guess that other people have come up with. Don't come up with it yourself.
That's the worst thing, is that they have us doing these calculations, like these valuations of companies. Like that's what we're doing, and like we're being graded on it. But no one does that. No one ever does that. They just take guesses from this other company that did it.
Because it's a waste of time to do it yourself.
Like,
That's what they tell you.
It's so stupid how like what we're doing is all stuff that no one ever does. Like at least like physics or chemistry, right? You're doing math that's already been done, but it builds a basis for like other things. There's no basis that's being built in finance. When you're like valuing a company, it doesn't like okay, like this kind of educated guess builds onto something else. That's the end result. Yeah. Your end result is guess. And it's something that like other people already do. You just take it from them, right? Like hundreds of companies do it, and every single company says something different. No one knows. Not a single person has ever been right. And it's just, I just don't understand how like people don't see that. Like people in business schools just don't see that, or the people that do are like us who are just I remember what the word was, disenchanted. We're just so disenchanted with business, or you just change your major.
But like at this stage. That was something that pissed me off the most about our school in particular. And it's not just ours, but I knew it was going to be like this at a couple other schools I applied for. But how it goes is they make you do all of the like primary school stuff. Like, thank God, were you a DA? Or?
I was, yeah.
So thank God we were DAs, because otherwise we would have to do this shit like separately on top of whatever else we were doing at the time if we wanted to be standard admitted. But like how it works is we do all of the like primary like classes during your freshman and sophomore year that do not at all get into like your major specific material until you get to your junior year. If you can get to there sooner, good. If you can't, it's expected that you'll get to like 300 level finance classes by your junior year. And by your junior year, let's say during that first semester you find out, holy shit, I hate this. Like, this is terrible. I'm doing so bad. It's too late to change your major.
Way too late. And like I remember I was saying to someone too, because like freshman year, everyone's like, oh, change whenever you have time. Junior year, I remember I was talking to people. I was like, yeah, I think it's too late. They're like, oh yeah, it's too late. It's much too late.
It's way too late.
And like, and that's the thing that sucks. It's like because I wasn't about to stay in school for another 3 years, just like try to do something else, But it's like, it sucks that they never give you any exposure. I feel like that's the thing. I feel like they know how many people will not like it. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of what it is. They want to lock you in because they know how many people won't like it and they'll switch out. So like they kind of just like when they give you exposure, there's some classes that are like, oh, this gives you higher level exposure. It's so like rudimentary. I remember there was one. It's like they give you like base level like finance management. I remember from that class already. He was talking about finance stuff. I was like, this makes no sense. And like I don't know why my brain didn't at that moment go, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. But like because I think if he had given me more information, I wouldn't have done it. I think I would have switched right there.
Because they also do that thing where they kind of like pull the wool over your eyes a little bit, and they'll like feed you like hints about like what the future holds. And unless you're in like a workshop or something, which that's another podcast entirely. I could rant about the workshop, but specifically, if you're not in a workshop and you don't have like exposure to investing or anything like that before you get to like your first intermediate investments class, like you have no idea what you're getting into, and then like the tiny bits of information that they tell you, like you just expect to like learn about later on. It's sort of like that meme where it's like in high school it's like oh, you should have learned about this last year, and then you like flash back to your class last year and they say, oh, you're gonna learn about this next year.
Yeah.
And like you just don't go over it at all. And so you take that like little bit of information and you're like, wow, that seems really complex. I can't wait till I understand what the hell you're talking about. And then you get into the classroom setting and you're like, wow, I'm learning about this and I still don't know what the hell you're talking about.
And then you get to the highest level and you realize what they're talking about and you realize it's all nonsense.
It's like, wow, it's all bullshit. This never has made any sense.
It's all made up, yeah, and like you're a naive freshman. They feed you. It's the bread and circuses. They distract you. They distract people. They give you. They tell you you're special. Right. That's the first thing. Right. They always tell you you're special. You're
special.
You're part of the small group that made it in. They go, hey, like here's like lots of events. There's free food. Like here's a graduation rate. Here's a graduation rate. Here's like how many people get full-time jobs, go to graduate school. They tell you all these. They just like pump you up. And then
median starting salary. Woo.
Yeah, and then like, but by the time that you realize like they've been just trying to distract you from it, it's too late. And I think obviously I don't think everyone who's doing it is malicious. Like people who are like coordinating. I think maybe some. I think a lot of people who are coordinating it might just not have ever really experienced it. You know what I mean? Like, because I saw this thing, and this is it was kind of a rationale for why there's a lot of like conflict, like a lot of like teachers who kind of say really extreme stuff or something. It's because a lot of professors go out of school and immediately back into education, right? So they've never experienced the real world. Obviously, we have a lot that have, right? We have a lot that have like done business or whatever, then like come back. But there's plenty, and especially like administrators or like advisors and stuff. A lot of these guys just go straight through school, come back. They've never seen the real business world. They've never gotten to experience how much it sucks. So like I think a lot of it, they truly believe they're helping people. They truly believe like we're bringing people into the school. They don't realize that a lot of us are being kept here and just locked in.
Which is such a like. I agree. I don't think that every teacher is like malicious or every administrator like purposefully tries to like. I don't think the difference between the real world and school it's very thinly veiled. It's not like you can't see that these two things don't match up. And a lot of teachers, if they're real with you, will tell you like, listen, what we're doing right now, you will probably never have to do, but because it's part of the curriculum, because it's part of like what you need to graduate, I'm teaching it to you. And then there's teachers who are the opposite, and they say like, oh, from my 1 year of experience at EY, we did balance sheets all the time, exactly like this, and this ratio here is the most important one, knowing literally nothing, and they just want to like make the class seem more important than it is, or they have like to inflate their badly damaged ego over how they have never had a real job other than being a professor. I don't know. Like to an extent, I can't be mad at all teachers because I know that like if you try to get to know any individual teacher, most of the time, in my experience, they'll tell you what's real and what's fake. But if you're anything like me freshman year, I hated going to office hours because it made me feel like I was stupid. Like I need extra help. Like
that's the thing about office hours. Like I went to my first office hours last week.
I'm going to my first office hours this next week.
What is it for?
F305.
Oh, I was supposed to finance. See,
I got a C on my last test, and I want to figure out why.
See, I went into one that's it's my stats class, right? And I like stats. There have been two classes I've liked in college: law and stats. One because I want to go into law, stats because it's actual math and numbers, and my mom's a statistician and I understand it, right? There's a basis behind it. Stats is like business, except it's like actual educated guesses.
Yeah.
Instead of just fake, right? But like, yeah, I went to stats because there's something I just didn't understand about the program we were using, talked it through. And like, but it's so hard to get over that initial hurdle of like, you do feel stupid, like you're like, wow, I have to spend extra time on a day. Because it'd be one thing of like, oh, you can stay after class, stay after class, ask a question. No, they're like, no, you have to choose this extra day. You got to come in during these specific hours because you're too dumb to like understand like what
it's
I'm
like
teaching.
You gotta get a one-on-one session with the teacher.
You gotta like schedule it.
Your hand.
You gotta like schedule it sometimes.
It's embarrassing. Like that's the biggest part of it, and it shouldn't be. Is that like I feel like a big part of it also is just in my own head. Like I psych myself out because I hang out with people who are career finance people and who just know things inherently, and it's their passion or whatever. And so they don't ever have to go to office hours. They do well on tests on their own. And like, whenever I mention how I didn't do so hot on a test or how I need to go talk to a teacher about something, they're always like, what? Why? And I don't want to say it's specifically their fault, but I think there is a huge culture in business school that is like kiss up and kick down sort of mentality of like, you gotta fight for yourself, man. Like, if you can't hang, then you deserve to drown. And I don't think my friends think that way about me, but by any means, I don't think that's how it is. I'm not schizo, but I do think that like the mentality and like hyper competitiveness of business school makes me makes me feel stupid for needing extra help for something that doesn't come to me naturally because I, once again, am not passionate about finance. I'm passionately anti-finance.
Yeah. I think part of it for me was I think I tried to I thought about showing up to an office hours once back in the day for that law class, right? I've only considered showing up for stuff I actually like, right? To learn a little bit more. And then I heard office hours. It's yeah, people just go in there and kiss up to the professor. They just go in there just make connections, or whatever. I'm like, well, that's stupid. I don't want to go in there and just have to sit around trying to ask my question, and they're just the same. They're the kids that are asking hey, how was your experience here? And the thing is, they don't actually care.
No,
none of these kids actually care. They just I might actually care. That law professor, I might actually care. I want to do it. That's what I want to do. But these kids would go in because they knew it would boost their grade. And it feels like it's. Like I said, like you were saying too, I don't think it's a malicious thing. I think they're trying to look out for themselves. They're trying to boost their own stuff, but they don't realize how much it's hurting everyone else. It's the same kids who this has been a real pet peeve of mine. It's weird that professors say they can't take attendance points, but they can still take participation. That's weird to me, right? So I have a lot of classes that take participation, but I can't participate because it's the same 5 kids talking all the time. They keep answering, and I'm like, yo, let the rest of us get our points. But it's
right.
but it's like you were saying, it's that it's the kiss ass kind of thing. It's they think that's the way to get ahead, and honestly, in business, that's how you get ahead. So
it's funny you bring up your law professor because that's exactly how it worked in my L201 class. The guy I thought was really cool. My teacher was an actual judge, and he wrote the textbook that we were using.
I had the same.
Really?
The same. I liked him. Yeah, I liked him. And
I thought he was really cool.
Yeah, and he had real experience. He said he'd never lost a case. I was like, yeah, I want to talk to him about actual going into law. Never got the chance because everyone was kissing up. And
I contemplated going into office hours once, and because he said before that he he talks about some concepts that he doesn't talk about in class. And I was like, maybe I should start going to his office hours, if nothing else, because it might give me insight into a test question or something like that. And then I asked around to some of the people I knew in my class. They say basically they all kiss up to him, and they all make him they all just try to be his best friend because they think that that's gonna do something for them, or for at the very least for their grade. And that makes me so angry because he was one of the professors here that I was like, whoa, this guy is actually cool. Not even just in a sense of business. Specifically, law is fascinating to me. I would never want to go into law because I'm dyslexic as hell and I can't read very long, and just it doesn't work for me. I wouldn't do very well. But he specifically, I just wanted to talk to him about his experiences just because they genuinely did interest me, and I didn't want it to seem like I was just gonna kiss up to him like everybody else. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Then I'm not gonna go in and ask him questions because he's just gonna be like, listen, man, you don't have to do this.
And the worst thing is too, I'm not gonna blame him for this, but a lot of professors I remember he mentioned stuff yeah, I'll teach stuff that maybe I don't mention in class, or you should come because it'll help your grade. And saying that immediately makes everyone who's just so just type A about that just go, right? People who don't really care, they just go because they think, oh, I'm going to show that I'm going to show up, my grade's going to be boosted. And it just hurts people that really are either you interested, or people that truly need help with it, or that they don't understand it, because it's just full of people who are just there for the grade. They're fine too, usually
doing well in the class already. Yeah. And then the dumb kids like me who actually need help, it's so demeaning. It makes me feel so stupid to have to be after the third kid in a row has been so I know why this is this way, but why isn't it this way? To be yeah, what did you got? Why did you put A for number 17? I inherently don't know the logic behind A. Instead of the previous question was for number 16, I got it right, but I was also thinking it might be this answer just because of the way it was worded. That sucks.
I'm a kind of that kid.
You're that kid.
I'm that kid, but I don't usually like say it. Like, okay, if I'm right, I'd never like speak up and like say it. Like I might like.
You wouldn't lead off with, "I got this question right."
I would only ever do that if it was after class. I walk up to the professor and it's truly I'm like, because here's the thing, when I ask that, it's truly because I'm interested, right? Like something like law, especially law, because that's what I want to do in the future. I'd walk up and be like, I really want to understand this better. But a lot of those kids, either A, they're flexing, which is most likely, like 90% of the kids are just flexing, or like B, they're just like trying to like show, like they're just trying to like show to the professor that they care, and it's like I said, I'm kind of that kid, but like honestly, when I would never do it if I didn't actually like care about it.
No.
Classes that like I get like if I get a decent score, I'm never gonna ask a question about it. Or like I want to see like a question I got wrong. I'm like, all right, I got that wrong. Whatever. I'm still have like a 95. But like, yeah, it's something about the culture. I think it's really bad. I think that we could like. Here's the thing too, something like that. Maybe you would have like talked to him. Maybe you would have been like, oh, like I like law. This is what I want to do. Maybe that would happen. But you know, you never get the shot. You never get the shot to like experience it, to like talk it through, because there's kids that just care about it. They're great in that class. They like I think the thing is like, it's just a lot of kids I think are not intentionally but just naturally inconsiderate. It's just a natural like being inconsiderate of others and then kind of not realizing how much of an asshole you're being, taking up others' time.
And like it's like you say, like kids like that do excel in business because like of that sort of behavior and that mentality. If it comes naturally to them, like they'll do well. And that's
it rewards the worst behavior. Business rewards the worst behavior. That's what it is. Like kids like that.
For doing everything in your power to do what's right for you and ahead of the needs of other people, like with no sense of like empathy, or like now it's becoming a thing. You need to have a good EQ. No, you don't. Not really. You need to be like hyper intelligent and capable of understanding when you are being like, when you're saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, but beyond that, you don't really have to care about like your peers.
As long as you're not like just socially just completely inept.
Yeah.
Like, and you're not like cutting people off. You're not just like saying like really bad stuff to people, right? Like, as long as you meet the bare minimum.
It needs to be a human.
Yeah, you just have to be like a functioning human being. And then after that, you can just be as much of an asshole as you want, and just like completely just stomp other people down to get your way.
Which is so messed up. Like I've explained numerous times in interviews, they're like I've gotten the question before that's like, what sort of like work environment do you prefer? And almost every single time, like I started to change my answer because I realized that's not what a recruiter wants to hear, which is also messed up in its own regard. They have to change your answer to how you feel type questions. But whenever they ask the question like, what kind of work environment do you prefer, I always say like collaborative. I am a big fan of working together with other people if it means like we're all accomplishing the same goal. I hate an environment where we're all fighting to like against each other and there's a lot of like petty like backstabby type things because there's one spot available on this like committee within your organization and you're fighting amongst 5 of your like equal footing like people who you all started at the same time with. Like I hate that. Why are we all fighting each other for this BS role that doesn't matter? Like, because my mom has explained that to me, that that's how it's worked at her company for so long, and that once she finally, like, rose above the, like, lower ranks of where she worked, it all becomes immediately, it switches to collaborative because everybody's, like, very defensive of their job, and they're like, hey, you can't take this away from me. So then, like, it becomes, like, the petty backstabby stuff, but you have to work together. So just an overall environment of business where everybody's working to accomplish the same goals. Promotions are given based on merit and your level of like competency and like your caliber of ideas that you bring to the table. Like that's how you get promoted rather than if you're able to like break down your fellow coworkers to the point where they don't even want the job anymore. And you get it because you were the calloused asshole to the 10th caliber. Wow, look at you. You did it. You win. Are you happy? Everybody hates you.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. It's like a lot of times there's no common goal to work towards. That's the problem. Here's the thing. I'm more of a lone wolf. I like working by myself.
And that's fine.
But I also like if we have a team, if everyone in the company is working towards a certain goal, I'd rather do the project myself. But I'm fine with we're all working towards the same goal.
Even if you have to split up roles, you're just a part of a team. And it's I want to do this part by myself. I don't really need your guys' input on this. I'm gonna do it because I know what I'm talking about.
I think part of what business is why there's that culture is because there's so much of a culture behind going up fast, right? Like you want to keep just shooting up fast, having that upward momentum. For example. Bringing up the chemistry thing again. Like chemistry, a lot of what that is, or engineering, it's kind of you stay in the same role for a long time, multiple years, and then maybe you branch out into a managerial role, right? Whatever. Like that takes a few years, you kind of just build up some connections, build up some work experience. But it's not just but in the end, if you're working in a lab or something, you're still working with your other fellow chemists to create this compound. You're still making sure it works. None of you trying to sabotage each other because your team either succeeds or fails, and if you guys all fail, then you guys are probably all fired.
Yeah.
But it's business is as long as you can make sure you're the only one that doesn't fail, that's all that matters. And I feel business a lot. There's just not that singular goal because most things like you said wealth management, right? For example, you guys are probably each given different clients, right? And then if you can just make if everyone else doesn't do as well for the client than you do, great. You're very separate. Your goal is individual. You never have any there's never any backlash for other people at your level failing. In fact it's better for you.
That's so messed up. The more and more I think about what a future in business is, it's essentially psychopathic. You really can't care about other people very much, or I've met people who see it as a weakness that I care about what happens to other people. I won't name names because that would be messed up, but on this podcast. But I've met people who are why do you care what happens to that guy? It's because he's a person. Even if he's not my friend, I don't want him to suffer. How he's doing right now does matter to me because if he's not doing well, then somebody's got to do something, even if it's not me. I still feel that pain. It's why? I don't know because I guess I'm stupid for being empathetic.
I mean, I definitely agree with you to a level, but at the same time, I think I disagree with you, but it might not be in the same vein of how you're thinking, right? For example, I've had recently I have a project, and 4 of the members showed up, including me, and one guy just hasn't showed up to class ever, right?
Yeah.
And we talked to the professor, and he's if he doesn't show up, just don't put him on the project forever. He'll just fail it, right? And I was thinking about him, great, he well, I mean, here's the thing, right? If you don't it's one thing if you're if you say to us hey, guys, I'm working 2 jobs, doing this, I really can't, I'll try my best, but I really can't. I'm still gonna be mad, but whatever. Okay.
So you have a lot on your plate right now.
Yeah, but if you don't make the effort to show up to class, which just leave on a Zoom. It's not even walk. You just leave on a Zoom meeting.
Leave your camera off.
Yeah, and it's if you don't make that effort, to pretend like you care, I don't really care. There has to be a base. Because I think part of where I disagree, which I don't think we disagree on this point, is I think I don't care about what happens to him because he has shown that he doesn't care what happens to the rest of us. He's shown clearly that he doesn't care about the rest of us and that he's willing to just ride off of our backs to get a good grade. Therefore, I don't care what happens to him because, he's shown that blatant disregard for us. And I think that's kind of the terrible thing. It's a cycle, even though I agree with you on caring what happens to people, especially people who have a lot on their plate, they can't balance everything. I definitely agree with you on that, but it's a tough cycle because I'm you get you get calloused, Like maybe before I would have been like, oh, like I'm making an effort to reach out, and I'm like, he didn't show up, great, leaving him off the dock, like he gets the feel, and it's just it's tough because people like that they turn around and then you see that and you think, and then you become guarded, you become more just like calloused,
jaded.
You jaded exactly.
Projects.
Yeah, and it's tough that it's just a recurring cycle. I don't think you can do anything. I think that's just how the business world is. I think that's just the nature of it.
I think to an extent, to answer your earlier question, how different am I between high school and now? I think business school has made me more spiteful. Because to an extent, when you named that example of like a guy who literally not only doesn't come to group meetings, doesn't come to class, and like has clearly demonstrated that he doesn't care, I'm like, well, and then when you frame it as in like he demonstrated he doesn't care about us, immediately my thought was, yeah, I don't care about him then. Like, and before I never used to think like that. I never used to be like, go nuclear on people like that before. But I think business school has made me that way, where I, like, if somebody has wronged me, I don't feel like there's justice until I have wronged them. And
see, here was my thing. I was just going to say until they, suffer some unforeseen consequence. But I guess you went in the direction of you needing to be the.
It's like,
you have to be the trigger man.
It's me. I'm gonna kill you.
I want you to look into my eyes as you fail the class.
I want to watch the life drain from your eyes, man. It's gonna be me. I'm gonna kill you. I'm not saying it as a threat. That's a promise.
That's my goal. That is my life's goal. And I think my problem is I don't know. I think part of what's different from me is I'm just less social. I think that's a big thing. It's just I still have like close friends, but I think I don't value. Not I don't value, but like I definitely don't like make the effort for like acquaintances and stuff anymore. Like as long as I've like maintained my relationship with close friends, I hang out, I get to see them or whatever. I don't have the same, like if acquaintances like, hey, like you want to do this, I'm like no, like part of it's COVID. I just like not being worried about COVID or anything, just being like getting used to just sitting at home. But like part of it's just like, man, like I think I realized where my priorities were. And I realized I really didn't care about like having this huge group, kind of having some acquaintance everywhere. I just don't care. It's too much effort, So I guess it all comes back to I'm just lazier.
Yeah.
I'm definitely lazier in college than I ever was in high school.
That's true too. Work ethic is down. Like willingness to reach out and maintain my social circles is down. Like that's how I've felt about our fraternity for so long, is that like it's tough trying to maintain all of those circles all the time. And I felt that way when we first joined. I was like, there are so many new people who I'm friends with, quote unquote, like I'm at least supposed to be acquainted with now. And I've never been good at maintaining more than like a couple circles of very close friends, like you're saying. And so like when I was thrown into that environment of like, I struggled so much during our pledgeship, man, because that was so weird to me. Like people like Alvin telling us like, yo, these are gonna be your closest friends. I was like, don't tell me what to do. I don't know these people. And like for me, it takes me a very long time to feel like somebody is a close friend or even is just like a friend of mine. It takes me a very long time to get to that point when I was just thrown into that. Like, these guys, they're gonna be your friends now. It's like, I can make friends by myself. Don't tell me who my friends are.
Because it's like, the thing about having close friends, I think me and you both have very similar approaches to like friend groups and everything. They have to put in the time too. Obviously, like to have friends, you have to put in the effort, but like they have to put in the time too. And like I think from what I saw, like why I've kind of like distanced myself from a lot of people is I haven't seen any effort from like the majority of them to like try to get to know me. Like I know I'm not doing much, but it's like I've seen like most people don't care about me, so why would I like make the effort to like pretend? It's pretending. That's what business is. It's all pretending, and I think that's why like I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say probably both of us feel like acquaintances. Like a lot of it's like just like kind of putting up an act almost.
It's so fake that it makes me sick. That like I don't want to even try to be fake. Like it's so bad. Like I feel like it's frowned upon, at least in business school, to be that way, to like not even try to fake it. But like faking it hurts so bad because like I can tell neither one of us is enjoying this interaction right now. I hate this so much right now, but because of some invisible norm, we're both supposed to act like, oh my god, how have you been? I thought about you so much over quarantine. And like that sort of like faking it mentality, it makes me feel physically ill. That's why another reason why I feel weird going to like PGN. Shit. Oh my god, you're gonna have to cut out half of this shit, man.
I mean, it's kind of all over your clothes, so it's like they probably see it if they wanted to put in an effort. It's fine. It's fine. No one knows. No one watches this.
Whatever. But that's a big part of the reason why whenever we go to like social events, I feel weird having people like talk to me and they're like, "Yo, Jacob, how's it been, man?" It's like.
Because I think here's my thing. I think it's nice in the moment. Because in the moment I'm like maybe I'm not fully myself mentally. So I'm like, oh, this is great. I feel loved. Like people like care. And then I like leave and I'm like, wait a sec. No one ever talked to me before. Like no one ever sent a text.
We've never had this conversation before.
You've never sent me a snap. You never like messaged me before or just like even emailed. Like you've never interacted with me. And then all of a sudden you're coming up and pretending like we're best friends or like pretending like we should, like, they're like, oh, we should hang out. I'm like, we've never hung out before. But now that we've happened to bump into each other, now we should hang out, like...
No, we're not. That's not going to happen. Oh, man, my eyes are itchy as hell right now. But, like, I think it's, specifically for me at least, it's people who are outside of our, like, class. Like, I think all the juniors I'm cool with. Like, I wouldn't consider them like all of them friends, but I think they're better than acquaintances for me because I've reached out to them on numerous occasions for like asking for help with like school or with other clubs or with recruiting. So I feel more connected to like our class, but literally I don't feel at all connected to the sophomores. I know that's weird. Or at all to any incoming freshmen. Like, I don't...
I mean, that's the thing. We haven't seen them. It's like we've never met them. And, like...
And then when they get offended and they're like, oh, I had to take a test about you. You don't even know my name. It's like, yeah, I didn't have to do that. And this is the first time we've ever seen each other.
Yeah, I never got offended when an upperclassman wouldn't know me. Like, I'd walk up or something. We'd be doing... Like, they just wouldn't recognize me or something. I'd be like, yeah, it's fine. They've never met me. I don't expect them to. Same thing. If I saw them, you shouldn't expect me to know you either, right? Like if we've never met.
See, I only know your last name because I had to take a test about it.
It'd be like if you were in like a group chat with people, right? Like 20 people, and you know like 10 of them, and then all of a sudden you meet like the other 10, and people are like, oh, why don't you know me by like face? Like why don't you why don't you remember stuff about me? I'm not going to spend the effort remembering stuff about someone that like I probably will never meet.
Dude, what's my like middle name? Yeah. Right? Like we can do this back and forth all day.
Like some people are like, oh, like remember I told you, like I said this last time, like in the chat, or like I said this last time. Like for example, I'm in a Discord with some people, right? And like we're friends, like, and we've met now. Yeah. Like before we met, like we met them through like Push, right? Yeah. And before we met though, like if I'd met them and like said something, like obviously we'd remember some stuff about each other, but like most stuff I think we'd probably just slip our minds because I'm not gonna remember stuff about someone I don't know, and I don't know you until I've met you. And I just think that's what it is. I think BJ's in a weird place. I just said it. I don't care.
Whoops.
I don't care. I think we're in a weird place where it's there's just such a divide between like our classes and the others, like that, like I don't think it'll be reconciled. I think maybe it'll fix itself after all this blows over. In like 3 years, maybe everything will be back to normal, you know?
I have a feeling that after we graduate, there will be like a great reunification because by then all of the people who didn't know the like underclassmen
Will be gone.
will be gone. So it'll just be the underclassmen as the upperclassmen and just the people that they've brought in. So I think it'll fix itself. Hopefully. I don't know. I've thought so many times about like wanting to like send an email to the like leadership team and be like, do you really want to know how to fix PGN right now? I have a bunch of ideas about how to fix PGN right now. You won't take any of my ideas, and that's fine. But before I get kicked out, I just want to like extend an olive branch like that. It just sort of here's how you can immediately fix some of the glaring problems you have, especially with communication, because you guys suck at that.
That's what I was thinking about running for one of the positions or whatever, right? Like one of the cabinet positions, like kind of like advisory or whatever. Like tell them like what to do. First off, they're not going to listen to me because I have never had a position. But you know why? It's because they never gave it. Like
I ran literally every single semester.
I ran 3 semesters in a row, but by that time I was like, I'm not running a 4th because the 4th one's going to be pity if they give me anything, and I don't want that. I don't like the bad thing is they always say, oh, we like giving new people positions. Because like for their resumes or for experience.
When I was a new person, why didn't you give me an experience?
Yeah, and then like dudes like me and you, like 4 or 5 guys in our class, like we just slip through the cracks. It's too late for us. They're like, oh, you're too old. Like we're giving it to these guys. We're like, well, you never gave us anything. Like, and it's tough because some people are like, oh yeah, like most qualified, but it's not that, right? Like it's not like a qualification thing. It's just
literally anybody is qualified to do literally anything.
It's the popularity
We're all
contest.
Just college kids, right?
And it comes down to the popularity contest again. You know, it's like it sucks because like I feel like I have a lot of ideas that could help. Like I feel like both of us like we probably turn stuff around. They're not going to listen to us because we're not involved. But you know why we're not involved? Because there's so many issues.
There's just so many problems and nobody likes us. Like I want to be like well liked in this organization because like I feel like I have gotten a lot out of the upperclassmen who, prior to our class entering the organization, I feel like they were doing really well. Like everything that they said in like that first Rush event. They meant it, and that's like I felt the love and the energy of the organization when I applied to it. Because like by that point, I was like, "This is real." Like, there's not that many people in the organization right now. I can easily see how I could fit in to such a small thing that like cares so much about their interpersonal relationships. Like, I want to be a part of this. And by the time that it was like our first time to
be active, or
I forget, it might have been the Libs was the first time I was like truly disillusioned, and I was like, is this how this shit works? That was
was it when me and you left?
Yeah.
Go up? Yeah.
I think Clement was there at one point.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was like, is this really how this works? Because how did I get a bid, man? Like, I perceive these people hate me now. Jesus Christ, is it just because nobody knew me before? Is that why?
I think that's what it is, man. Like, a lot of people just want... I think a lot of people in the business world, like our fraternity and also business world in general, I think a lot of people just want acquaintances. I think that's what they want. They want people they want people they know a little bit of, and like they just want to know 1 or 2 facts about you, you know, hang out with you, you know, go party with you a little bit. That's it. They just want to party with you once in a while, know a little bit about you, that's fine. And then they learn a little bit more about you, and then they realize, wow, I know this person as a person, and we don't get along much, and great. And now I don't want to hang out with them. And that's why I think I'm so, like you said, disillusioned by it, because it's like, you realize that no one wants to get to know you. Like, they just want to pretend like you're their friend, and you can, like, hang out with them. Like, they like going through the motions of saying, hey, it's been a while, we should hang out.
Hey.
They love hearing themselves repeat that, you know, it's like,
we should do something sometime.
Yeah, like, man, I haven't seen you. I'm like, yeah, like, because you don't care.
And to be honest with you, man, I don't care about you either.
Yeah.
And like I to an extent, I appreciate having like a large network of what essentially amounts to people I can like drink with. That's fine. Like if I know ahead of time that that's what you are to me, like you will never have to put in any effort with me, and like it's a relief to me to know I will never have to put in any effort with you if I know that this is all you care about. Like, cool, man, let's grab, like, we can actually get a drink sometime, and I don't have to talk to you about stuff that's important to me. Like, I can just get drunk around you, and that's okay. Like, because there is like, to an extent, I do appreciate knowing that ahead of time. The problem is, like, they don't accept that as what it is. They, like, want so badly to, like, perpetuate a myth that everybody in PGN is best friends with each other.
They're dressing it up. They're putting makeup on, putting makeup on that cat.
On the cat, kissing it, whatever the hell those researchers are up to.
That's all. That's
Maybelline.
That's all business people are, man. Just people Frenching cats.
I mean,
you can.
Now that you mention it.
I mean, what's it saying? It's like you can. I don't know. It's something about putting perfume on a turd or something. You can dress up a turd, but it's still a turd. You can polish a turd. All right, that's what it is. You can polish a turd, but it's still a turd, basically, right? Like it's like you can pretend we're all family. You can pretend like you care about me, but we know. Both people in that interaction know. It's not, you're not fooling anyone. Maybe at the beginning when we first joined, maybe we're like, oh yeah, these people actually care about me. 2 months in, we're like, oh, like none of them have ever reached out to me. None of them ever talked to me outside of chance events that we both go to.
Yeah, weird. I thought we were cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I thought
it did hurt. It hurt my sophomore year when I was like going around and like I'd show up at SPIA tables every now and again. I'd be like, "Hey guys," and they'd be like, "Hey, oh my god, I'm so sorry." I'd be like, "I'm just gonna go." Look at the time.
And like I'd walk up sometimes too, and I'd sit there, right, and like they'd like say hi to me for a second, and they just keep talking to themselves. I'm like, all right. Great. Like I tried to make an effort. I walked over. Here's the thing. I didn't show up to stuff like that, right? Like me and you, neither of us showed up to stuff like that. Nope. But like I showed up a few times, and I'm like, hey, like I'm making an effort to try to be social and hang out with you guys. And I'm like,
because there's like 2 or 3 people who did make me feel really bad that I wasn't like making an effort like that, and I was like, you're right. This is all on me. Like I would probably be closer with these people if I made more of an effort. And then I did try, and I was wrong.
Because like I think me and you both, it's like we build organic stuff, So our vision of making an effort is showing up. I think right. We show up and we try to make it organic. We're like, all right, we're gonna get to know these people, then maybe become better friends. But I think what they wanted is you just jump in and be like, hey, like how's like classes going? Like I'm like no, like
I'm not gonna act like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like I don't know you. Like I'm willing to get to know you. I'm willing to put the time in, get to know you. Hang out. But I am not willing to jump in and pretend like we're friends and then not see each other for 2 more months.
Sorry, that's not gonna work.
It's not worth it,
And that's a big part of why I think PGN is so cliquey is the size, first of all, and second of all, like whatever group you can immediately like click with. No pun intended. That's your clique. Like you just that's why I felt so lost in PGM for so long. Is before I like started hanging out with you guys with any sort of regularity, I was like, oh my god, I don't relate to the basketball kids. I don't relate to the
case competition kids.
To the smart kids. I don't relate to any of the girls in here. I don't relate to, like, there's like 4 or 5 things you can be. I was like, ugh, I don't like any of these. And then I was like, oh.
These guys don't like any of those either.
These guys hate all that. We're united by our mutual distaste for the clique behavior. I like these guys. It's
kind of funny. That's how like all my groups have been since like high school. I remember high school too. All of my friend groups were always like high school we were involved, with like a lot of people did sports or whatever, but like it's always been people that like kind of don't like the popular kids, but we're also not like like the nerds or whatever, so like same thing with college. Like the people I naturally gravitated towards were people that were kind of disillusioned with the whole college thing. Not even just the whole business thing, just the whole college thing. Where we're like, this kind of sucks. But we're like, well, at least we're gonna like hang out together and like suffer through it.
All my friends freshman year wanted to transfer away from here. They were like, I hate business school. I might just hate Kelly. I don't know. I think I'm gonna transfer. And like, low key for a while, I was contemplating transferring to Purdue too, because that's where I'm sure you relate to this. A lot of your friends probably go to Purdue, or a lot more go to Purdue than go here. And so, like, most of my friends ended up going to Purdue, and I was like, I hate to do this to myself and, like, stunt my college growth like this, but I don't feel happy here. I want to go and hang out with my friends and join, like, a loser social frat, like my friends. And, like,
I think the tough thing was, I think this is natural for everyone, you know, but like wherever you're at in life, you always feel kind of locked in. There's never a point in life where you're like, oh, right now I'm free to choose whatever and no consequences.
Nope.
Like here's the thing: if I'd gone back freshman year, yeah, I might have gone to Purdue. I mean, before freshman, I might have gone to Purdue instead. I got into the engineering, you know, I might have gone.
You got into the engineering school?
Yeah. Like I said, high school I did great. High school I did great, man. But that's the thing. Like, even if it was freshman year, after freshman year, I might have transferred. But I just always thought, well, I'm kind of locked in. I'm here, you know, too late. I don't want to put in the effort. Part of it's like the laziness thing. But it's like, man, I kind of, every single step in life, I always wish I had told myself, like in the past, like, hey, you can transfer out. It's fine now. You can switch.
Choices. Yeah.
It kind of sucks because I have a family friend who's like really close. They've raised me like since I was a kid. They always like raised me whenever my parents are at work. And the dad, he would always tell me, he's like, yeah, he meant it. He was like, you're smart. Like, you're literally smarter than, like, I don't know. He's like, you can do anything you want. And I ended up doing something that makes me miserable. Right? It, like, that sucks.
That's, like, it's the, like, ultimate, like, oxymoron of, like, or, like, juxtaposition of I started off so strong. What the hell happened?
I burnt up all the gas, man. All that fuel just burnt.
I think that, like, special kid mentality, while I didn't think I was one of those kids in high school, I definitely, looking back, like, subconsciously was super narcissistic like that. I was like, I'm definitely better than these kids. I'm going to make something of myself.
I thought
like
that
Offspring song.
See, I thought that, yeah. Is it Kids Are Alright? Is that what yeah.
It's like, I'm definitely going to turn out alright.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's, I don't know, like, I used to think the same thing. I was full of myself, right? And the worst thing, I was so full of myself, I thought, I'm going to go so far, I'm going to do business and get ahead. Wow, was I wrong, you know?
I'm going to go so far in life, guys. Just you wait. Ends up in business school.
God, I bet my teachers in the past were like laughing at me right now. You know, all the ones that like had me for like chemistry and physics, who told me I should do like engineering or chem engineering. Man, they're just laughing at me right now. They're like, this kid thought he was hot shit. Look at him now.
Loser. It's like, what was that, David? You said you're gonna do what with your life?
Now, dude, this podcast is the brightest part of my week now because I just hate every part of like being at school.
I know, like having something going on. That's why I've felt so miserable the last few months. Is after I broke up with my ex, like for so long, I'm one of those types of people who when I'm in a relationship, I tend to throw all of my eggs into that basket.
It becomes your life.
Yeah, it becomes part of my life, and once I lose that, it's like 50% of my literal everyday is gone. And then like these last few months, I've been like trying to fill in the gaps with like friends and other stuff that I've been trying to kickstart. Been trying to fish lately. I like it. It's very cathartic. It gets me in a peaceful mindset, even though I'm pretty bad at fishing. Doing stuff like that, or like riding my roommate's longboard around, even though I'm terrible at it. Like it's just something new that's interesting. Like I feel like in a lot of the same way, those things are like this podcast to you. It's just like something new that breaks me out of the pain of everyday life post-COVID.
I think that's the best thing that came out of COVID. I think a lot of people realized, I mean, like, relationships are one thing. A lot of people realize, like, hey, like, wow, now that I'm stuck with this person, I kind of don't like him. Or, like, things that they were doing before, they're like, hey, now that I'm stuck inside just doing this, I hate it.
Wow. Yeah.
I think that's something good that came out of COVID is that people, like, really, really valued it. Like, hey, what do I not hate, right? Because, like, what I'm spending all this time with this person or this hobby or this thing, do I hate it? And, let people, switch that around.
It's funny you mention that because I think COVID is actually like a bro for helping me break out of my funk. Because for the longest time, people were telling me like, Jacob, you're not yourself. Like I miss single Jacob. But it turns out they actually cared about me and they were just like worried about me.
Man, what a concept! Your friends actually care about you. What a crazy concept.
It's hard to believe in college. Like my friends from high school. Like, our dynamics were so different, and I think that was another big piece of, like, developing how I relate to people in college, is that I had to let go of, like, wanting all of my new friendships to be exactly like what my friends were like in high school, because, like, those were relationships developed over the span of, like, my entire life. Like, at least 10 years.
And the dynamics are so different, too, because you see those people all day. You're spending all day with them, and like
go do a sport with them.
Yeah, and afterwards you hang out. After that, go get food or something. And I remember that I think that's the biggest like shock for me is that like a lot of the like the close friends I had are like you and like Sean's guys, right? Like I don't see you guys like you guys are the closest friends I have here, but it's like I still see you guys like a fraction of the time I used to see like even just some of my like less close friends back in high school, because it's like. I think it's hard. I mean, I liked high school. Like, I'm not one of those people that's I hated it.
I actually really liked high school.
I loved high school, and it's like it's so hard to come to terms with like, wow, this is different. Because when you really like something and something's different, you're like, oh, this sucks. Immediately, your thought is, this sucks because it's different from what I like.
This is different. I hate it.
I hate change.
I do. I actually am a creature of habit so bad.
I think it's where we're from. In Indiana, I think Indiana people just don't like change much.
And like introducing change like that, you're right. Like, is so. I was so like I felt out of my element here for so long because like everybody was into stuff that I just didn't get because they were from somewhere else. And like Indiana kids, I feel like they all have the same hobbies. They all like to start fires and hang out at Walmart. Like
we basic sit around Target all the time, or like maybe just sit in a Steak and Shake. Like it's.
Loiter, essentially.
Yeah, Indiana hobby, loitering. That's our state hobby right there.
It's so pathetic because other states are always like, oh man, why didn't you guys like go to Indy or like the local metropolitan zone? And it's like, do you want to get shot? Or stabbed? Do you want to die? Is that what you want to do?
The most interesting you can do? You can like take a picture by the train tracks. Great. That's your entire trip.
Train.
Yeah, that's about it. You can't go surfing. You can you go to the Monon, you pretend you're surfing for like 10 minutes, boom, you go home, right? Now you're just covered in little kid pee and chlorine.
That's a hoot. Wow, this is just like they have it over in California.
It's nice though. Some kids, it sounds terrible. It's kind of nice when you see those kids that are like always trashing on us, like for like not doing much. When they realize they're like, hey guys, why isn't there anything to do? We're like, huh.
We're already doing it. So are we gonna like go do something? It's like we're doing it.
This is it. Yo, like what are you complaining about, man? We're sitting. We have
a fire. There's beer in the cooler.
What more does an Indiana kid want? A cooler and a fire.
Like I think the closest we had to having like a beach was my friend. My friend Arik lived on like his house was on like one of those like shitty man-made lake reservoirs, and it was out in Westfield though, so it was kind of a drive from where I live. But he had some like paddle boards and stuff, but the water was so nasty. Like we used to have what we would call shit fights. Where you'd like kick up mud from the bottom and throw it at each other.
But like the thing is, I feel like us as like Indiana people, like I feel like those are like just stupid stuff like that. Some of the best times of my life.
Best memories.
I remember this is kind of a. So I won't name the people, but two of my good friends. Well, one of my best friends from high school. We played tennis together, and one time he had to poop. He pooped in a Target plastic bag, and we tied it up and we just left it right in the middle of the road. And I remember it was funny because so a guy pulled up. He actually goes here. He was the number one guy on our team, right? He pulls up like to the park. This is after a game. He pulls up with his girlfriend. Like they come back after like getting food to get his car, and he goes, "Hey, what are you guys doing here? We're cracking up, right?" And he goes, "What do you guys like poop in the street or something?" He guessed it 100%. Like, here's the thing: it's such an asinine thing, but like that was one of the highlights of my like life.
How did he know?
Like, who guesses that? Who guesses
Indiana
that?
kid, obviously. My friends used to do shit like that too.
Like that's the thing. It's like, I think the nice thing is in a place like this. Don't get me wrong. I love Indiana. Or like I love this place, but like I think that's the nice thing is that like we can make something out of nothing. I think that's our strength as Indiana people. We've always been able to make something out of nothing.
I think being easily amused is not a bad trait. It sounds like it makes it sound like you're dumb or something. It's like, no, being easily amused means you can make something fun that was previously nothing. Like you said, like you can make something out of nothing, and you're not like you don't need a whole lot to have a good time. So that's why like it's such a weird thing to me to like especially date girls who need to have like an event going on. Like it's like the Indiana girls I date are perfectly fine calling it a date if you want to start a fire in a Target parking lot, take a shit in the back.
Like that's the thing, right? Like I remember, like a lot of people I know here that are from like Chicago or something. Like they'll be like, hey, like you guys want to go out and like go to the lake or something? And like you want to go on a hike? You want to like do? I'm like. Nah, and then me and my Indiana friends were like, "Hey guys, you want to come over and play Smash for 4 hours?" I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great event for me." Or something like that. They'll be like, "Hey, like you guys want to like come here and just like talk?" I'm like,
just chill.
"Dope,
yeah,
dope. That sounds amazing. Like that's the highlight of my week." You know, and that's
I'm doing nothing in a new location.
that's something the big city kids will never understand, man.
City slickers.
You'll never understand us.
That's why I got my Farmers Only account. Ladies, hit me up.
On that note, hit them up on Farmers Only. Farmers Connect. Is it Amish Mingle? You on that too?
Christian Mingle.
I think Jewish Mingle. You're on there too, right? You're just on all. You're just getting on all.
Okay, Cupid. Okay, Stupid. Grinder. Hinge. Minge. Twinge. And Twink. Hit me up.
Hit them up. Thank you for watching. I enjoyed this. This was nice. Good back and forth. If you are a business school administrator, please assume this was all satire. This is just all kidding around. I love finance.
I actually love finance.
If you're from my hiring company, please don't take away my offer. I need something to do this summer.
Please.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, follow, subscribe, share. Hit this guy up. It's cutie. We might have him on in the future. Let us know what you think.
I'm lonely.
Don't hurt his feelings too much. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.